The self-discipline of our players was a big reason the University of South Carolina was successful in the 2001 Outback Bowl. We knew we would have a tremendous challenge playing Ohio State. We also were aware of the fact that South Carolina had only won one bowl game in its entire history. We told our players that they shouldn't be too excited. Getting to the bowl game was the easy part. Winning the bowl game is a much more difficult thing to do, particularly since South Carolina had not enjoyed a great deal of success in bowl games in the past. We asked our players to do two things. The first was to trust the coaches and the system, due to the fact that I and many of our coaches had been to several bowl games with other universities. The players realized that we had had an awful lot of experience and they had none, so they were willing to give us that trust. The second thing we asked them to do was to work very hard. If we were going to win, they would have to make sacrifices. They would have to continue to lift weights, to practice, and at the same time keep up with their academics. In addition to that, they would only be able to go home for 2 days at Christmas. In other words, winning the bowl game was going to take sacrifice and self-discipline. I told them we would make some mistakes in the bowl game, and that I would certainly forgive any mistake they made, whether it was a fumble, an interception, a missed block, or a missed tackle. But the one mistake I would never forgive, nor would they forgive, was failing to prepare properly. I must say that our football team prepared as hard and as valiantly as any I've been associated with. You may not remember this game because South Carolina and Ohio State, but let me tell you that the first half we dominated play. 4 times we were inside the Ohio State 20-yard line, but we made every mistake known to mankind inside the 20. We missed field goals, we fumbled, and we threw an interception right before the half. The list goes on. And we went into the locker room with only a 3-point lead. Nevertheless, the players never let losing enter their minds. They trusted each other, they trusted the coaches, and most of all, they trusted themselves. We came out in the second half and again completely dominated the game. But this time, we made fewer mistakes against an excellent Ohio State team, and ultimately, we won 24-7. That's what results from sacrifice and self-discipline. Remember, every decision you make sets the stage for different results. When you choose not to study, you're going to get poor grades. When you choose not to work hard, you're choosing not to win. Practice to the very best of your ability to be ready to do your very best. That's what I mean by sacrifice and self-discipline. In the late 1960s, I coached with a man named Woody Hayes at Ohio State. In case you haven't heard, Woody Hayes was one of the greatest coaches of all time. The last time Ohio State won a national championship, I happened to be on Coach Hayes' staff. When we played Purdue that year, it was number 1 in the country. We beat them. I was really excited because I had all my relatives at the game. All my high school friends and fraternity buddies were there as well. We planned to party after that game. But Coach Hayes had other ideas. He told all of the assistants to meet in the staff room at 7 o'clock on Saturday night right after the game. He wanted to begin preparations for the next opponent, and I just wanted a party. But we prepared for the next opponent and went on to win. That year we won the national championship because Woody Hayes had standards. He demanded sacrifice and self-discipline from those around him. You're going to have to do the same in whatever you choose to do. Play 3. Get rid of the excuses. When I went to Notre Dame in 1986, the team had come off a losing season. When I introduced myself to the football team, I told them, "We're not going to win because I'm here any more than someone can fix a flat tire by changing the driver. If we're going to be successful, we have to get rid of all the excuses for why we can't win." It was one of a number of things we were going to have to change. We played the University of Michigan in the opening game of my first season. They were number 2 in the country and had a great quarterback named Jim Harbaugh. Although we outplayed Michigan, we played a superb game. We unfortunately made a few mistakes. We lost a heartbreaker, 24-23. When you went into our locker room after the game, you could see we still had a lot of work to do. Despite making the kind of progress that allowed us to play the number 2 team in the nation so well, players were blaming other players for the loss. Players were pointing fingers. He fumbled. He threw an interception. He dropped a pass. He missed a field goal. The official made a bad call. Coach Holtz made a lot of bad decisions. In other words, it was everybody else's fault. The players were willing to use someone else's mistake as an excuse for not succeeding. You have to get rid of all the excuses for why you can't do something. Like the players after the Michigan game, you can find lots of reasons why you can't do something. This is wrong, that's wrong, this is against me. As long as you can find excuses, you don't have a chance. The second game was against Michigan State at East Lansing. They had a fine football team and the game was on national television. 3 minutes to go and we were getting beat 20-15. We had the ball inside their 25-yard line. All we had to do was score a touchdown and we would win. I called a timeout. I called the team over and said, "Men, we're going to throw a pass. We're going to run right 32-4 SXB pass." Now I understand that play means absolutely nothing to you. What I didn't realize at the time was that it didn't mean much to our quarterback either. He threw an interception and we ended up losing the football game. The whole year went along that way. We lost heartbreaker after heartbreaker, and it was always somebody else's fault. In our very last game, in my first year at Notre Dame, we played our arch rival Southern Cal. There were 90,000 hostile fans at the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum for the game. USC had an excellent football team and a great quarterback by the name of Rodney Peete. We were a decided underdog in the football game. With 11 minutes to go in the game, we were getting beat 30-20. Southern Cal had a 4th down and 5 yards to go at midfield and went into punt formation. The best chance we had to win the game was to throw on a punt rush and block the punt. We did put on the punt rush. We did not block the punt. But we did succeed in roughing the punter and getting a penalty, which gave the ball and a 1st down to Southern Cal. Now, the young man guilty of roughing the punter happened to be my wife's son. After the game, the reporter said to me, "What do you think when your son roughed the punter?" I said, "Now I can understand how certain species of animals devour their young." Southern Cal went on to score as a result of this play and made it a 37-20 with 9 minutes to go in the game. But when our football team gathered together to receive the next kickoff, there was something different about them. I don't know if they were embarrassed over the stupid penalty or tired of losing, but they stopped making excuses and made a commitment to each other. They were going to run the kickoff back. They said, "You get your guy, I'll get my guy." We didn't run it all the way back, but we ran it back far enough to set up a touchdown. Then our defense went out and said, "We're going to stop them." And that was amazing. They had struggled all year. But they came together in the last minutes of the last game of the season and stopped Southern Cal. And in those last 9 minutes, we scored 18 points and won the game 38-37. From that time on, we won over 80% of our football games at Notre Dame during the next 10 years. Not because of something I did, but because a group of people learned that you can only be successful when you get rid of all of the excuses. Everybody's going to have problems. Everybody's going to get knocked down. Everybody's going to have difficulty in something. The question is, are you going to stay down or are you going to get up? Success is getting up after you get knocked down.